afternoon, everyone. Welcome. I'm Aditya. I'm the Regional Vice President at MongoDB. And today I've got a lot of esteemed gentlemen from various marquee organizations. And we're going to talk about how GenAI is evolving, what are the new trends that we are seeing, and how their organizations are evolving and creating new things on GenAI. At the same time, we would want all of our panelists to talk from a standpoint of thought leadership in terms of how they see this industry evolving over a period of time, right? So I'm going to start with you, Raja, and I would really like to know that Bonito Designs, right? Very interesting use cases, some beautiful pictures out there, the kind of work that you're doing. So help us understand that, what do you think of this GenAI as a concept, how it's evolving, what do you see in the market, right? And then, is Bonito Design thinking about leveraging it? Are you already leveraging it? Because from a use case standpoint, right, there's a lot of things a GenAI can do from a design standpoint, right? So we would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, sure. As a design company, I think as you rightly said, I think this is rightly suited for us. And we have multiple initiatives which are coming. We do the data mining of already existing images or the clients which we have served for about more than 5,000, and we have database of around 2 petabytes of data on the images side. So from the internal consumption, we do the data mining and text-based search, and then we do the image search. As I think one of the problem that we see in the data mining is, assume we basically take a house and return home, right? So in the interiors, what generally expects design is it must be executable. So every design house has a color palette or a palette which is curated by the design houses. So in the context of generative AI, it just throws up, but it may not be executable in the context. So you may have a white laminate, you may have a the textured laminate. But end of the day, if you cannot serve my customer with ordering, that is where the challenge comes in. So we are good with the design, and designs comes out. We already have something we are going to launch in the market as well. But the challenge at the time of back-end execution, it has to work in the limited precincts of the catalog that we have, and that is a huge accuracy problem today.
And do you run any kind of LLMs on those images to figure out information, or how can you collate data from different images to make the third one or the next one better?
So we tried with the two things. One is the DALI, and another is we are customizing Llama 3 on our own to work on our images. As I told, the bridging data mining and then understanding the features in the image, and then matching it to the moment my customer comes and says, I want a house with white finish marble background, then that is where the challenge comes. I think if there are two things. One is we cannot go with the zero-shot learning. That is not executable, looks very fancy. My pipeline, I can sell it to my customer for 20 lakhs, but at the time of execution, I may fail. On the other side of it, we will have to personally train. We are training on the Llama 3, some of the models, local models, and that works on our existing catalog. So it is executable at the same time generative as well.
Perfect.
So that is the marriage you will have to do. If you really want to not just showcase the product, but you have to still deliver to the customer as well.
Yeah. No, I think it's imperative, right? It's not theoretical, it's practical, that whatever you generate, you start using it in the real world. Ashish, I'm going to jump to you, right? Physics Wala has been the poster boy of Indian EdTech, doing some cutting edge work, and we were just talking about the AI model that you have. Why don't you elucidate and talk more about it?
Thank you for having me over. So a couple of interesting things. We are in the affordable segment, so our revenue per user is in the range of 3,500 to 4,000 rupees, where we want to enable a good part of India to learn Bharat, that we call it, skilling, or getting Bharat to be part of the learning and education journey. So one of the biggest challenges we face is not so much the pedagogy, but the ability of a student to consume that and then be able to process that, and during the time of processing be able to have a mentor who he can rely on or would talk to ask a few doubts. Now, we overlaid this problem and we used AI. We call it the AI Guru. So this is an AI that we have developed. We have a trove of data in terms of what kind of personalities ask what kind of questions and how involved are they in the, how involved do they want the tutor to be. So we have built a model around that. So it's been super successful. We have about 2.5 million users. On a daily basis, about 35 to 40,000 active users asking doubts. So the metrics are telling tale. Our time to respond to the doubts on an average was about 5.5 hours. Any guesses to take how much we cut the time down, right? Or take
Minutes?
Yeah, we took it to 1 minute. 1 minute. So, and also since it's a learning model, it learns basis a student's ability to understand, grasp, and the number of times the student is asking repetitive doubts around that. So it's an amazing learning model. Our CSAT has gone from the lower 50 levels to the upper 90 levels right now. And the doubts, the number of doubts has gone up by 30%, out of which we had at least 30% uptake in the people who cleared examinations and failed. So this has been, I would want to say, a revolutionary moment for us at Physics Wala. And I think this is really democratization of technology in its real sense.
Very interesting, right? Hours, 2 minutes, right? And I think the second thing is also the student doesn't feel shy,
Yes.
Asking a doubt in front of a machine, right? I had one thought, right? And in fact, more than a thought, a question. And see, India is a nation of many languages and dialects, right? How do you see this evolving and vernacular coming into play?
So I'll be letting out a secret, but we are already building a model to be able to make this vernacular. So hopefully in the next 1 quarter, we should have a test bed where for the top 7 vernacular languages, this model will be trained and will be able to answer both in text as well as voice. The ability of a student increases in understanding, and the specially abled are also able to benefit from this.
Beautiful. Great, Ashish. Tanin, moving on to you, right? And I'm jumping industry verticals, right, from marketing design to ed tech and now to you. Why don't you tell us what's Biocon doing? What's the latest happening at your end?
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me. Well, before I start with, let me give a caution of note, or probably a note that should I say what I would say. It's personal view. Do not roll back to my company and ask them that Tanin has said something like that. So let me start with what happens in typical pharmaceutical companies. They do not adopt any new generation, new Gen I or anything, because they want to go ahead and see what exactly is going across from previous years, and they don't want to take something new at the very first stage. AI would be the last dessert that they will pick up. The starters are something different. So to start with, but having said that, we have vendors. Now, if in case my vendors can be new gen, can be old ones, who are processing the data via AIs. Now, how do I control them? I have to make sure whenever, as a global DPO, I can say, my role is to make sure that individual's data is protected at any cost. Because we are regulated by various geographic regulations, starting from GDPR, CCPA, and whatnot, and we have DPDP coming onto our door very soon. Now, to say that, as a company, when I give my data to vendors, third parties, I have to be very sure that they are not processing the data via AI. Because, now giving an example, let's take an example. Think that I have a vendor who's going to support us for any HR related work, services. Now, for example, if it is AI driven and it is not been biased properly, or I will say it is biased, then it will take decision which is against my will. So I would need a human intervention at the last end mile, so that if the model is not being trained properly, it will give me a biased answer, and which will not be the one that I will be looking for. So for that, when I'm onboarding a vendor who's gonna do our services and who's gonna process my data through AI, I want a human touch at the very last moment. I understand that various places you cannot have it. The example is like your incident, you have a lot many false positive and all that is happening, where you can easy to connect it. But that is a different story. But as a DPO, personal data is what I should be taking care of, and hence I need a filter at the last moment.
Do you see, and this is an interesting thought, right? You would get a lot of this AI generated data getting generated somewhere or the other. Do you see the other side of the world where AI would start protecting itself from this data that is being generated? What I mean to ask is that if there is a magic wand and that in future you get an AI assistant which instead of human intervention starts filtering through this data and starts telling you, right, this is genuine or this is not genuine. Do you see a world where that kind of evolution could happen?
Yeah, I would be happy to, if I can live by that time and I can see that, that will be very much happy to that. But yes, that is a very important point that yes, we do assess all AI based applications. So assessment, risk assessment is what at this point of time is what you can filter out which applications are capable of making unbiased decision. But if to answer your question is yes, if something happens and we have audits to take place and make sure that we can filter out those non-protective AI, I would say that right now we should not look for the normal AIs, we should look for ethical AIs. That is very much important, which is not hampering your decision on the basis of some biasedness, and that can be controlled at a certain point of time.
Yeah, thanks, Tanin. Good thoughts, right? Rithish, I'm going to move to you, and you are moving India. And I don't know about others, but I sure have used Redbus back in the early days when I was in college or was a bachelor, right?
You were a bus user then, now you're a flight user. So you are make my trip.
Yes. So why don't you tell us that? How do you see AI in the travel side of it? What are the latest trends, and what are you guys doing at Redbus?
Right. So and first of all, thanks for having me here. So just note about Redbus. So Redbus is one of the largest bus booking companies in the world. In India, we have a very large market share, and then we are also in the Southeast Asia region. We are also a market leader in Malaysia now, and expanding to a few countries. Along with that, essentially as an organization, we are also wanting to kind of solve all challenges with respect to ground transport in that sense. Right? So we have also kind of forayed into rail booking, and then now into ONDC, mobility over ONDC and all that. Right? So a brief about that. So a lot of use cases, of course there are a lot of consumer use cases. When I mean consumer use cases, one of the largest value add that we actually see is, or where we are actually investing is in some sense improving our contact ratio. What it means that for every transaction that actually happens, if a customer actually has to reach out to us post sales, right? So it's called a contact. So every contact actually has a cost associated with it, essentially, because that contact actually has to be serviced. So we actually have to have infrastructure, we have to have people to service. So reducing contact ratio is a what you call a very large goal. So with respect to that, a lot of us implementations that we have done is in terms of basically utilizing pretty much all of the available vendors out there, whether it is Gemini or Bedrock, clouds of Bedrock, and then OpenAI through Azure, trying to kind of, earlier we actually had a very tree-based structure, how customers could actually interact with us post-sales. Subsequent to that, we kind of went into a query-based structure, so people could just write the queries, and then the intent handling earlier, we used to kind of actually use BERT or some other models. Now all of that basically has been moved onto an LLM, which would do the intent handling, and then subsequently also do a function calling to actually call the specific API, get the results. The beauty of this models or this piece of software now is that from, let's say, a JSON data set that you, as a response that you get, you can construct human-friendly response out of that. Right? So a CX as one, then of course when a customer actually reaches out, so we have got something called a Railbot, where over WhatsApp a customer can actually ask any query, and from the same data set as a response, let's say someone can actually ask, are there any AC tickets available from Bangalore to Hyderabad for tomorrow? So let's say there is a search response which is basically actually having a JSON structure. So the model is actually able to kind of go deep into the JSON structure, identify what an AC 3A is, 1A is, and that is actually an AC, able to identify how much of availability is there, and able to construct a response which is human friendly in nature. And the icing on the cake is that because again we move, in some sense, as you mentioned, we move India, so essentially a lot of the users are also tier 2, tier 3. So an English response can effectively easily be converted into a native response of the hinterlands of India, and so beautifully well by this technology itself. So that is basically the consumer side of things. Internally, essentially inside, for improving engineering productivity, what we are trying to do is that we are trying to kind of utilize the same models to do, let's say for example, called code to doc, while engineers would write code, but then how effectively can you actually generate documentation of that code, so that can be, let's say you want to do a knowledge transfer session subsequently, or other people who are actually coming into the teams, they actually have to have an understanding of the system. So on that, essentially we are investing more on code to doc, largely again for knowledge transfer. Secondly also, let's say there's a complex piece of logic that a product manager has actually thought, but then what is the guarantee that what has actually been thought is what has actually been coded? So you can actually query the code itself to kind of construct documentation of that code, so that you can actually really verify and vet and validate, okay, what has been envisioned is what has actually been coded. So those are some of the use cases, internal and external, what we're actually doing.
No, thanks a lot, Rithish. And people often mistake that we can use a bot or a Gen AI more from an external standpoint, right? Even at Mongo, we use Gen AI very effectively for our internal use cases, right? Imagine we have got around 50,000 plus customers all over the globe. Now, if you ask me a question, right, can I solve it for Redbus as MongoDB? What I can do is I can go on my Slack, type that question, and that bot searches through all MongoDB documentation, through all MongoDB use cases, and gives me a very specific response that I can give it to you, right? So when my seller is on a call with you, I don't need to tell you that, okay, I'm going to hold on, let me find a similar kind of use case to you and do it, right? And this is all built in-house using this. And imagine 2,000 sellers of MongoDB having this, power of existing 50,000 customers and, millions of prospects or users that are already there using Mongo, so that we can effectively deliver this information to our end user. Beautiful. Vishal, while Rithish helps move India, you help drive India, right? So why don't you tell us what's happening at Zoomcar? And we were just chatting up earlier, so it would be really interesting to know that what are you guys doing at Zoomcar?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks for having me here. Zoomcar, I think most of you would have seen Zoom cars with branded cars going out in cities here and there, and the one question which gets asked always is, we don't see that now, right? And the reason is because COVID came in and it disrupted our business. We had all these cars on our balance sheet, and we were trying to grow our business, but then COVID came in and it was like no one is traveling in India and in the world as well. So we had to basically pivot our business and move into a peer-to-peer car rental business. And an easy way to talk about it is Airbnb for cars. That is what we are trying to build, and we have built it and scaled it in last 2 years in India. And we would want to scale it in other markets, Southeast Asia, Middle East as well going forward. So for us, I think very similar use cases, some of them that you also mentioned, right? So for us, hosting is very is not mainstream, right? Hosting your car, if I tell you, will you give your car to an individual or to an unknown, you would not go ahead and in your first go you would not do that, right? And that is what we want to make hosting as mainstream. In next 1-2 years, we want to scale that, and we want to basically a lot of these questions which keep coming in, like, okay, what would happen if this car goes and it meets an accident, if there's a breakdown that happens, if someone tries to steal my car, right? And that tons of questions which keep coming from the new host who want to join the platform. Now that is where we are trying to come up with an AI assistant, which basically from day one, once you get on the platform and once you try to explore our platform, this assistant will basically solve all your queries. You would not have to reach out to a customer support internally, but this would basically give you the right answers all the time. We are also trying to work a lot more on the quality of the cars that come in.
Yeah.
So now for every marketplace, right, it becomes evident that as it scales, a lot of fraudulent use cases, actors come in, and at the same time, how do you ensure that quality is there for the demand vertical, right? And for us, we are trying to see how the real car images that are there, how we can enhance that and improve those car images. We are trying to see from a text vertical the rating and the reviews which get fitted in. How do we basically summarize from hundreds of reviews? How do you summarize and basically give out a very crisp answer to it, saying, okay, the guest on the other side basically understands from different cars which is the best car that I can pick from the reviews. We are trying to, on the fraud as well, we are trying to see, so when a guest and host connect, they can do chat, they can even call each other, and very similar to other marketplaces, for us, it happens that people want to do offline transactions, right? And people don't want to give that 10%, 20% commission, they want to just do an offline transaction. And that is also something which we want to prevent, and we want to escalate it out as a fraud, and we want to move this kind of supply outside, right? And so even text and voice use cases, we are trying to use Gen AI and see how we can extract fraud use cases and eliminate them as it goes. So yeah, I think these 3-4 use cases we are actively working on. Some of them are in launching stage, some of them are in POC stage.
Very interesting and real world use cases, right? And in fact, I'll tell you a story. I was talking to Vishal, and I think it's a good time to share this story, and it's more on the automotive side of thing. So there's a German car manufacturer, one of the largest manufacturers in the world. They built a AI solution on MongoDB with our help. What it does is, when you take your car to a service station, the mechanic just switches on the car, puts the app next to the car, and the app recognizes the sound, converts it into a vector, then searches globally all the databases on what is the probable cause of the problem that could be there in the car, right? And saves time, saves energy, and gets the right solution quickly, right? Fast forward solution, now what they're doing, if as an end user of that car manufacturer, you are okay to allow recording of your car sound while you're driving, they will preemptively tell you that in weeks to come or days to come, this is the kind of problem your car is going to encounter. Why don't you take it to the nearest service station, right? So solving real world use cases and making lives easy, I think that's what Gen AI is going to help us, right? And Biru, you are making a lot of lives easy, right? So why don't you tell us, and we are going to jump, and it's a very interesting vertical. So why don't you tell us what is happening at BetterHalf.ai?
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me. Generally, I am from BetterHalf. Can someone raise the hand, say how many of you have heard about BetterHalf here? Why I am asking this question is the simple is, generally whenever I attend the events, there are not the, I can see there are some young audience here. Many people are not aware what better half is. So that's why I just.
We are all aware of who better half is.
So it's a matchmaking company. Those who are not aware. So basically, and for us, the end user, both the segments are the end user is the male and female. Right? So the chances of so AI we uses a lot in terms of whenever a user upload any images, we need to check what kind of images are there. So we need to enhance the images quality. Sometimes images are not good. We also need to check that if the images are is as per the model, as per the regularity, it is a good images or not. So those things we check. Beside that, there are also some kind of fraud thing happen in this kind of system. So we also check that if what is the AI, through AI only we predict whether any kind of fraudulent activity is happening or not. In the matchmaking industry, this is a really big problem. This is there. So from users journey onboarding to checking the users are what user exactly doing, we use AI a lot. Not even Gen AI, but AI and all this thing we keep using that. That is the thing. Now, and as other panelists mentioned about the customer support, obviously I think every company uses customer supports after Gen AI. I think it has become very common, right? It definitely increase the kind of content we want to share with the user. It also increase the SLA time, right? Earlier it was lots of time it was taking. Now it has improved a lot. Beside that, we have also moved into the wedding industry. Wedding industry, what is that? We need to process millions of images. Let's say there are venues. We need to mention about every detail of venue. Now all the details are venue. It's not possible for any content creator to write all the millions images of venue, all the delicacies. So we use Gen AI for that, right? Lots of different models we use to extract the content from that venues and put the detail into the database, so that if users search directly the word, we can exactly provide what all the venues they are searching. So there we also use Gen AI as such. As part of the productivity into the engineering team, I would mention that obviously after that, lots of engineering at the personal level, right? All the engineers are using. So I find that as a company, I think the Gen AI both has helped us a lot, right? To automate, to detect, to answer the customers. So for us, this is a really a great thing. And what I believe the Gen AI is still as the tip of the iceberg. Right? Lots of things need to be done. It is just this small thing. The concern which I have is the regulation. I don't know what kind of, because ultimately it's the data through that these answers are coming. What if the data is not the correct one? As again
someone was mentioning, right? We need to protect this.
We have to protect. If we can't protect, then it will create my biggest worry is that what if there is no regulation here, then it could create anything. What we are getting benefit, it could be the counterproductive from that.
No, absolutely correct. Right? And one of the things that's coming out is that how it's going to make our lives easy, at least on one end, right? Biru, before I move to the next panelist, on a lighter note, do you use AI to suggest who's the best match for the one individual?
This is going at the pilot level, but yeah,
it is?
Yeah, but not as an AI is a profile. AI we do use a certain behavior of the user to suggest that what kind of the profile they are liking or disliking. According to that, we do suggest, but again, not extensively. Most of the suggestion comes as per the user's preferences, whatever they prefer.
I'm so thankful I got married a few years ago. Right? So I would have not found a match after that. Great. Abhishek, moving to you, you would be working with so many customers across industries, right? Yes. What are your thoughts on AI and what are you hearing in the market?
So honestly, listening to everyone in the panel, I think apart from Better Half, I have cut across everyone's use case. Typically, like most of my clients have solved possibly 70 to 80% of all your challenges. Maybe I've seen and solved in some fashion. So maybe I can help in summarizing some of the things that we have seen from the customers. So one of the things that I have seen is definitely the customers are more interested in knowing what can AI do for my data in my system and customized to my business. So that is because LLM and AI in general and the platforms, especially IOPS in general, how it is coming up, and mostly the models coming through cloud, they are not unique per se. It is unique only if you incorporate the data. And then you have your, as you were mentioning, RAG approaches. chunks become a problem because I have hallucinations, so top K, you don't know what the key is, so relevance is lost. Then you have structured and unstructured data, so you have Codex.ai type of modules which can write your SQL code or Python code and get the data together, marry them, give you some input, but there is always a possibility of you missing something, and that is where the customers, my customers especially, have the maximum amount of issues in terms of proceeding ahead, smoothly, and adoption becomes slightly of an issue. So I have seen that the industry is cautious, but at the same time there are, avenues through which we can definitely move forward. One of the things that I would like to again reinforce is it is not a magic wand yet. It's just a baby, right? Just a baby. We do not know in many of the products which are only solely AI focused, how much amount of pre-processing and post-processing is happening apart from the model that is solely there. Think of LLMs, it already has an attention head. On top of it, you again have semantic context. You add context, zero-shot prompting does not work. You have few-shot prompting and other techniques that are coming up. So it's still a baby. You have to see how I nurture it. And I don't think we can actually stop adoption at any point of time. It's automation. It's purely automation. So I think there has to be, in terms of summary, it is of the AI, by the AI, but for the people. So for the customers and for the users. And it's collaborative working, human feedback is always going to be important. I think ethical committees, more than government, has to be set up within the organizations itself, because they can drive and tell the government tomorrow as to how to move ahead, because you are facing the challenges now. Government is still a step away because they are cautious. They are very, very cautious because they are actually the people, right? So few of those nuances like integration, interoperability, in terms of having a steering committee, and possibly maybe Asimov laws of robotics to bring them in, and some kind of watermark on fake content that is going up, that any platform tomorrow can recognize if a fake photo is uploaded and call it out as fake. So there are things that we can all do, but yeah, future is definitely promising and applications are going to be huge. I personally am servicing engine manufacturers from cars to airlines, tech companies, retail companies, possibly apart from matchmaking, I've touched everything. So maybe I'll be interested in talking to him later.
Yes, and it's super important on all of us, right? All of us in the room, that how do we groom this baby and ensure that it becomes an angel and not a devil, right? Kumar, moving on to you, you are helping organizations with AI, right? So why, and we would really like to hear from you. What are you hearing in the market, and what is Conrad.ai doing for?
Sure. Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity. A quick background. So I'm Kumar from Slang Labs. So we are a Google-backed company. So our product is called Convoy, which is the world's first AI assistant as a service platform. It allows you to be able to build an AI assistant for your app, for your use cases in a very easy manner. You just give the URL of your app, it will automatically generate the agents that is required to manage your assistance. It will figure out what the use cases to do it. You can then customize it without having to worry about writing prompt engineering, RAG. All of that concepts are all abstracted away from you, so that it becomes a very simple developer-focused tool that regular developers can now add AI experiences. A lot of the use cases that people are talking about here can be very easily solved using on top of our platform. So that's the high-level background. So the way people are using AI, as with many other things, like starting to now, the most intuitive experience started with customer care, right? Like where there's a human that was earlier answering it, now you remove the human from the loop and trying to now make AI answer those things. But AI can also start to be used in a much more area at the top of the funnel also, not at the bottom of your funnel, but also as your revenue generating tool. For example, you are a grocery, you are an e-commerce application. Now, today, if you want to be able to now discover products, the way traditional e-commerce is done, you know what exactly you want to buy. You just go look for that particular product, and you go take that product, and you try to buy that product. That's sort of like a supermarket sort of an experience where you are doing self-serve to go buy the product which you already know what you want. But in a Kirana store, if you go to a Kirana store, you don't even know what you want to buy. You just say, I want to buy cooked palak paneer today, you tell me what are the ingredients I want to buy to make palak paneer. Okay? That's sort of the experience you can get with a Kirana store, which you can't get at the supermarket. Now, with AI in your app, you can now get that kind of an experience. That's sort of what our customers are using it for. You can just say, I'm making palak paneer today, tell me all the ingredients. It will automatically tell you all the ingredients. You can just click on them, buy the exact one you want, or click add to call button, all the ingredients get added to your cart automatically. In one shot you can just buy it. Right? Or you're trying to buy an AC. Hey, I have a 10 by 10 room, what AC should I buy? Now this you can't again buy on your own. You have to do a lot of product discovery, you have to go to Google, do the research, then come back to the e-commerce app and do it. There's a lot of context switching, a lot of information is lost when you do context switching. Now a lot of things are possible right in the context of your app where you're doing it. Right? That's sort of what people are now able to do with an AI assistant sitting in their app, which is what platforms like us enable to do, like starting with the discovery of products very easily and making it multilingual, right? Allowing you now to be able to ask, even if your app is in English, being able to now talk to it in your own language and let the app understand it and handle it in your language. When you're going into the app, when you're looking at a particular product, it based on what you're doing, it is automatically able to generate solutions for your use case. If you, for example, search for onion or some random stuff, it's able to now generate, would you like to know the ingredients, would you like to know recipes you can make with onion, would you like to know what are the health benefits of onion, would you like to know what is the difference between onion and something. It's a very trivial point, but things that as you're doing in your app, you are now able to now help the customers generate interesting content along the flow of them. Right? These are all some interesting things that people are doing beyond cost savings and also helping them in the workflow, improving their experience, bringing in offline sort of experiences onto their online platforms. So that's all things that people are doing.
Thanks, Kumar. Thanks for sharing that, right? Chetan, while we heard so many panelists, right, one of the things that we also have to consider is the economic impact of generative AI, right? How do you see that evolving as the industry goes through this evolution? How do you think that's going to impact at a much broader scale?
Perfect. First of all, thanks for inviting me. So I represent Google Cloud here. And some of the use cases, if not all, Google Cloud is today empowering people. Right? There are startups, there are developers developing these use cases. Now, if you look at Google Cloud, we are actually innovating across the vertical stack, right? So if you look at the infrastructure, we have the GPUs, TPUs, where there's a lot of innovation happening. At the platform level, we have something called as Vertex, which is our ML Ops platform, and there's a lot of stuff happening there. At the API level, we have Gemini, and there are multiple versions, fine-tuning is allowed now, etc., etc. So what we are trying to do is one, and what it all basically leads to is improving the productivity, right? Now, if you look at developer productivity, we are working on products for that. And this productivity, I'm talking across industries, because you are trying to automate a lot of these repetitive tasks, which could be generating content, say for a marketing campaign, right, or building ads, or say just writing posts, right? So a lot of these repetitive, and also customer service, right? So where there are a lot of repetitive questions. So we are trying to improve the productivity. That's one. Second is all your research that used to take a lot of time earlier. I think we are trying to lessen that time. The go-to-market is faster. The time to market is faster. And what that gives you is ability to focus on things that are very important to you as a product, right? And there is obviously, there are discussions about new roles coming up, right? There are industries that could form based on the technologies that we are developing today, and we are actually supportive of all of these. There are some fears around jobs, etc.
Correct.
And I think what we are trying to position is one, all of these repetitive tasks can be automated, and that adds value to the organization. And for the employees, there's actually an opportunity to upskill themselves, right? And adopt certain newer roles where there are much better benefits that they can pass on to the organization.
Yeah, I was reading somewhere, right, that AI is not going to take your job, somebody using AI is going to take your job, right? Thanks Chetan, and for all of you, there are a lot of customers, organizations in India who are using MongoDB on GCP, using Gemini and Vertex, and building the next level of AI applications, right? So Chetan, glad to be partners, right? Yash, my final panelist, what's happening at Nova Benefits? What are you guys doing? And why don't you tell us, how do you see this evolving at your end?
Definitely, thanks for having me here. Really resonate with your point on like someone using AI will replace like people not using it, because there are a lot of use cases. The limiting factor I see is people just don't know what all you can do with it. I think we talked a lot about chatbot kind of use cases in the panel. just to add on to that, one use case that we are finding really valuable. So Nova Benefits is a B2B insurance broker. So we come across a lot of health insurance claims, even other insurances. And one specific thing there is you have these claim documents which are of different hospitals. Some are PDF, some are, some are using CAM scanner to take a photo of a jacked receipt from some pharmacy. So converting that unstructured visual and document data into something structured and helping people actually fill claim forms or submit. So you can have all the APIs in the world, but if you don't have structured data to feed into those APIs, you can't do much. And that's where we have found a lot of value in extracting structured data from documents, helping people file claims, even validating if everything is there, how it should be. Other use case around making sense of structured, like unstructured data, is on looking at insurance policies. So there are some standard products where your policies will be easy to compare. Like health insurance, you can compare easily. You can say it's 5 lakh sum insured, this is 15 lakh. So clearly that is better. But when it comes to business insurances, often these are long 50-60 page legal contracts. You can't really compare them on 5 dimensions. There are like n number of inclusions, exclusions, conditions, etc. So there we have found value in kind of democratizing the expertise. Not everyone needs to have a degree in law to figure out what this policy is trying to say, what is covered, not covered. You can simplify it, and then even a salesperson can kind of compare and explain it to a customer that how is this policy better, even though it's more expensive. So these are some things we are seeing value in. And obviously everything we have our own chatbots, we have our own developer productivity tools, but I think that's been covered quite well. So I'll keep it short and talk about just the unstructured to structured use case that we have found.
Thanks, Yash. Good thoughts, right? And very valid use case also. And insurance is one of the sectors which is seeing the advent of the AI wave, right? And I think for all of us, it's not a far-fetched thing when we'll have these AI use cases in every aspect of life, right? And a few of the things that came out of today's discussion before I wrap up is that it's definitely going to make our lives easy, and we have to groom this baby into figuring out whether it's making our life easy or ensuring that we are surrounded by fake data, fake information, and at the same time we have to protect our information, our customers' information, right, and our information of our close ones, right. And last but not the least, I think it's imperative that all of us ride this wave. We get trained on this wave. We know what is this wave, so that as the industry evolves, we evolve with it. So thank you a lot. Thanks a lot, all of you, for taking out the time today and being with us. Thank you.